The escape pod's emergency beacon had been silent for 3 rotations when Luna first detected the distress signal. Her delicate, flower-like ears twitched as she monitored the communication arrays from her position aboard the merchant vessel Peaceful Harvest. As a vegan, one of the galaxy's most pacifist species, she had volunteered for communication duty precisely because her people were known for their diplomatic skills and gentle nature. What she discovered made her pale green skin turn nearly white with terror. The distress beacon originated from a Terran vessel, a human ship. Luna's large, doe-like eyes widened as she processed the implications. Every civilized species in the galaxy knew about humans. They were the apex predators of known space, emerging from a death world called Earth, where everything tried to kill everything else. Worse still, they were omnivores, a trait so rare and terrifying that most herbivorous species considered it a nightmare made real. "Captain Moss," Luna whispered into her communicator, her voice trembling like leaves in a storm. "I've detected a human distress signal. They're requesting permission to board." Captain Moss, an elderly vegan whose bark-like skin showed the wisdom of countless stellar cycles, felt his own fear spike. "How many?" he asked, though he dreaded the answer. "The signal indicates a single survivor," Luna replied, checking her instruments with shaking hands. "But Captain, you know what they say about humans. They hunt in packs. This could be a trap." The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the ship's bioorganic systems. Every crew member knew the stories. Humans had emerged from the world only decades ago, but their reputation preceded them like a shockwave. They were said to be relentless hunters, capable of tracking prey across star systems. Their teeth could supposedly tear through hull plating, and their eyes could see in the dark like the monsters from children's tales. "We cannot abandon a being in distress," Captain Moss finally decided, though his voice carried the weight of possible doom. "It goes against everything we believe, but prepare the emergency protocols, seal all decks except the docking bay. If this human shows any sign of aggression—" Luna nodded, understanding the unspoken command. She had studied human physiology in the academy, a required course for all communication specialists, though it had given her nightmares for cycles afterward. Humans were built like living weapons. Their forward-facing eyes spoke of a predator's focus, their muscular frame designed for pursuit and capture. Most terrifying of all, they possessed something called adrenaline, a chemical that could turn them into unstoppable killing machines when threatened. As the Peaceful Harvest adjusted course toward the human distress beacon, Luna tried to calm her racing heart. She repeated the meditation mantras of her people, drawing strength from the memory of her homeworld's vast flower fields. But even those pleasant thoughts couldn't dispel the image forming in her mind. A human, eyes gleaming with hunger, sizing her up like prey. The proximity alarms chimed softly as they approached the human escape pod. Through the viewing ports, Luna could see the small, battered craft tumbling slowly in space. Inside was a human, a real living predator who might soon be walking their peaceful corridors. "Remember," Captain Moss announced over the ship's communication system, "no sudden movements, avoid eye contact, and whatever you do, don't run. Predators always chase what flees." Luna gulped, her throat making a sound like rustling leaves, and prepared to meet humanity's ambassador to her worst nightmares. The docking bay of the Peaceful Harvest had never felt so much like a trap. Luna stood behind the reinforced observation window, her delicate fingers pressed against the bioglass as she watched the human escape pod being drawn into their ship by the gentle tractor beams. Captain Moss had positioned their entire security team, all 5 of them, at strategic points around the bay, though Luna doubted their non-lethal restraint vines would do much good against a creature that had evolved to kill. The pod's hatch hissed open with a sound that made every vegan in the vicinity flinch. What emerged was worse than Luna had imagined. The human was larger than the database images had suggested, standing nearly 2 meters tall, with a frame that spoke of controlled violence. His skin was a warm brown color, unmarked by the ritual scarification that Luna had expected from such a warrior species. Most unsettling of all were his eyes. dark and intense, scanning the docking bay with the calculated gaze of an apex predator assessing new hunting grounds. "Greetings," the human said, his voice carrying easily across the bay despite its moderate tone. "I'm Alex Torres, lieutenant aboard the UES Discovery. I want to thank you for responding to my distress call." Luna nearly fainted. The creature's teeth were visible when it spoke. Sharp, white instruments of destruction that could undoubtedly strip flesh from bone. She had read that humans sometimes displayed their teeth as a threat gesture, but seeing it in person made her knees weak with terror. Captain Moss stepped forward with admirable courage, though Luna could see his branches trembling slightly. "Welcome aboard the Peaceful Harvest. I am Captain Moss. We are honored to assist you, despite our differences." The human, Alex, tilted his head in what Luna recognized from her studies as a predatory gesture. When hawks and other flying hunters did something similar before striking their prey. "Differences?" Alex asked, confusion evident in his voice. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." Luna watched in horrified fascination as the human began to move through the docking bay. Each step was controlled, purposeful, the gait of a hunter conserving energy for the moment of attack. When one of the security officers accidentally made a rustling sound, Alex's head snapped toward the noise with inhuman speed, his predator's eyes locking onto the movement. It's nothing," Captain Moss stammered. "We simply rarely encounter your kind." "You mean humans?" Alex asked, and Luna caught the subtle shift in his posture. The human was becoming more alert, more dangerous. "Have we done something to offend your people? I wasn't aware of any diplomatic incidents." Through the communication system, Luna could hear the whispered conversations of her crewmates throughout the ship. Fear was spreading like wildfire through the peaceful corridors of their vessel. Someone mentioned that they could smell the human, a musky alien scent that spoke of worlds where only the strong survived. No offense," Captain Moss assured him quickly, recognizing the warning signs. Everyone knew that cornering a predator was the quickest way to trigger an attack. "We simply wish to help you contact your people and arrange for your rescue." The human nodded, but Luna noticed how his eyes continued to move, cataloging everything around him. She had read about this behavior. Humans were said to unconsciously map their environment for tactical advantages, always preparing for violence, even in peaceful situations. Every exit, every potential weapon, every possible prey item would be noted and filed away in that terrifying predator's brain. "That's very kind of you," Alex said, and Luna shuddered at the underlying power in his voice. "My ship suffered a cascade failure during a routine survey mission. I've been drifting for almost a week without food," Luna realized with growing horror. The human would be hungry, starving even. And here they were, a ship full of soft, defenseless herbivores, trapped in space with a creature designed by evolution to hunt and kill. When Alex smiled, another display of those terrible teeth, Luna had to grip the window frame to keep from collapsing. The predator was planning something, she was sure of it. "If you could show me to your communications array," Alex continued, "I can contact my fleet and arrange for pickup. I don't want to impose on your hospitality any longer than necessary." Luna's blood ran cold. The human wanted access to their communications, probably to call in more of his pack. This was exactly how the stories always began. One human, seemingly helpless, luring peaceful species into a false sense of security before the real attack began. She had to warn Captain Moss before it was too late. Luna's hands shook as she tried to compose a private message to Captain Moss. The human, Alex, had been aboard for less than an hour, but already she could sense the change in her ship's atmosphere. The Peaceful Harvest felt different now, contaminated by the presence of a creature that belonged in the darkest reaches of space. Through the internal monitoring system, she tracked Alex's movement through their corridors. Captain Moss was giving him a tour, showing him to the communications array as requested, but Luna could see what her captain couldn't, or perhaps refused to acknowledge. The human was studying everything. His predator's eyes lingered on ventilation shafts, emergency, exits, and most chillingly, the locations of crew members. "He's hunting," Luna whispered to herself, her flower-like ears drooping with fear. "He's mapping the ship, learning our routines. Oh, ancestors preserve us, he's going to pick us off one by one." Her research into human behavior had been thorough, if terrifying. Humans were ambush predators on their homeworld, capable of incredible patience when stalking their prey. They would study their targets for days, or even weeks before striking, learning every habit and weakness. The fact that Alex appeared calm and friendly only made him more dangerous. It was the classic behavior of a predator lulling its prey into complacency. The communication array was located in the ship's heart, surrounded by the living corridors that made vegan vessels so peaceful and harmonious. Luna watched through the bio-neural network as Alex approached her workstation, his movements fluid and controlled. When he sat in her chair, she felt a chill run through her entire body. The predator was in her space, touching her things with those dangerous hands. "This is a remarkable setup," Alex said, examining the organic interfaces with what Luna interpreted as tactical assessment. "I've never seen biotechnology integrated so seamlessly with quantum communications." Captain Moss preened slightly at the compliment, but Luna could see through the human's manipulation. Predators were known to be intelligent. They had to be to outsmart their prey. Alex was probably analyzing their communication capabilities, learning how to disable them when the time came to prevent distress calls. "Our people have always believed in harmony between the natural and technological," Captain Moss explained, his fear beginning to ebb in the face of apparent human interest. "We grow our ships rather than build them, you see. The vessel itself is alive, responsive to our needs." Luna watched in horror as Alex's eyes lit up with what she was certain was predatory glee. He was learning about their ship's vulnerabilities. The fact that it was a living organism meant it could be wounded, possibly even killed if he knew where to strike. "Fascinating," Alex murmured, running his fingers along the bio-neural conduits. "The applications for deep space exploration would be incredible. Does the ship have any defensive capabilities?" There it was, the question Luna had been dreading. The human was assessing their ability to fight back, measuring their defenses against his offensive capabilities. Captain Moss, in his naive trust, began explaining their minimal security systems, apparently oblivious to the fact that he was providing a predator with the blueprint for their own destruction. Luna couldn't take it anymore. She activated her personal communicator and sent an emergency message to the ship's senior staff. "Code Amber. Predator aboard. Recommend emergency protocols. The human is reconnaissance for attack." Within minutes, her communicator buzzed with responses. Chief Engineer Root was skeptical. Humans had a reputation for honor in combat, he argued. But Navigator Petal agreed with Luna's assessment, noting that Alex's constant scanning behavior was consistent with predator patterns. Security Chief Thorne was already implementing subtle lockdown procedures, sealing non-essential areas and establishing defensive positions. Through the ship's sensory network, Luna felt the peaceful harvest itself beginning to respond to the crew's fear. The vessel's bioluminescent panels dimmed slightly, and the corridor walls began to secrete a thin layer of defensive mucus, an instinctive response to perceived threats that hadn't been triggered in decades. On the communications array, Alex was successfully establishing contact with his fleet. Luna strained to listen to the transmission, hoping to gather intelligence about the impending attack. "This is Lieutenant Torres calling UES Valiant." Alex spoke into the organic transmitter. "I'm safe aboard a vessel of the Vegan Collective. They've been incredibly hospitable." Luna's blood turned to ice. The human was using code words. Hospitable probably meant defenseless in human military terminology. She was certain that Alex was providing coordinates and tactical information to his pack, disguised as a routine rescue request. "Understood, Lieutenant," came the reply from human space. "We're dispatching a rescue ship to your coordinates. ETA, approximately 6 hours. 6 hours. Luna felt faint. That's how long they had before the human fleet arrived to finish what Alex had started. She had to act quickly, had to convince Captain Moss of the danger before it was too late. As she watched, Alex stand and stretch, displaying the casual confidence of a predator in complete control of its hunting ground. Luna made a decision that would change everything. She was going to confront the human directly. Luna's courage lasted exactly as long as it took her to walk from her monitoring station to the corridor where Alex stood with Captain Moss. The moment she saw the human up close, really close, not through protective screens or from a safe distance, her resolve crumbled like ancient bark. He was enormous. The database files hadn't prepared her for the sheer physical presence of a human being. Alex towered over her diminutive form, his broad shoulders and muscled frame speaking of a creature built for violence. His dark eyes, when they fixed on her, seemed to pierce straight through to her soul, as if he were evaluating her nutritional content. "Ah, Luna," Captain Moss said, apparently oblivious to her terror. "This is Lieutenant Torres. Luna is our communications specialist. She's the one who detected your distress signal." Alex turned those predator's eyes fully on her, and Luna felt her legs go weak. "Thank you," he said, and the sound of his voice seemed to vibrate through her entire body. "You saved my life. I'm in your debt." The words sounded sincere, but Luna knew better. Humans were apex predators. They were naturally skilled at deception. The gratitude was probably just another hunting strategy, designed to make her lower her guard. She'd read about this. Predators often displayed false friendliness to lure their prey closer. It was duty," Luna managed to stammer, her voice barely above a whisper. She tried to avoid direct eye contact, knowing that meeting a predator's gaze was often interpreted as a challenge. Alex frowned, and Luna caught sight of those terrible teeth again. "Are you feeling all right? You seem nervous." "Nervous?" Luna almost laughed hysterically. She was standing 3 feet away from one of the galaxy's most feared predators, and he was asking if she felt nervous. It was like asking if the prey felt concerned while staring down the barrel of a hunter's weapon. "She's just shy," Captain Moss intervened, though Luna could hear the strain in his voice. Even her captain was beginning to sense something wrong. "Our people aren't used to visitors." The human's frown deepened, and Luna watched in fascination and terror as his posture shifted slightly. She recognized the change from her studies. It was the subtle alteration that preceded a predator's strike. His weight shifted to the balls of his feet, his hands moved to a more ready position, and his gaze became even more focused. "Have I done something to offend?" Alex asked, and Luna caught the edge in his voice. The predator was becoming agitated, possibly preparing to abandon stealth in favor of direct action. "I get the feeling that my presence here makes you uncomfortable." This was it. The moment Luna had been dreading and preparing for. The human was dropping his pretense, revealing his true nature. Soon he would show them why his species had become the apex predators of known space. "We know what you are," Luna found herself saying, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "We know about humans, about what you do." Alex's eyes widened, and Luna saw something flicker across his features. Surprise, perhaps, or maybe calculation as he realized his cover was blown. "What I do," he repeated slowly. "You're a predator," Luna continued, her voice gaining strength from sheer terror. "An apex hunter. You came from a death world where everything kills everything else. You're omnivores." She said the last word like a curse, and the effect on Alex was immediate. He took a step back, his expression changing to something Luna couldn't quite interpret. Not anger, as she'd expected, but something else. Something that looked almost like hurt. "You think I'm going to hurt you," Alex said quietly, and for the first time since he'd boarded, his voice carried no confidence, no predatory certainty. "You think I'm some kind of monster." "Aren't you?" Luna whispered, her large eyes fixed on his face. "Your species conquered your entire planet. You hunt and kill for food. You have forward-facing eyes and sharp teeth and you can see in the dark and track prey across impossible distances and—" Alex held up a hand, and Luna flinched, expecting violence. But instead, the human slowly sank down onto his knees, bringing himself to her eye level. The gesture was so unexpected that Luna's terrified rambling died in her throat. "Luna," Alex said softly, "I need you to listen to me very carefully. I am not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt anyone on this ship. Humans we don't do what you think we do." But Luna had seen the statistics, read the reports. "Your people fought wars for thousands of years. You have weapons that can destroy entire planets. You eat meat. You kill other living things for food." "Some of us do," Alex admitted, and Luna tensed. "But many of us don't. And none of us, hunt sapient beings. Luna, the idea of hurting you or your crew is as horrifying to me as the idea of being hurt by you." Luna stared at him, confusion warring with terror in her mind. This wasn't how the encounters were supposed to go. Predators were supposed to be aggressive, violent, overwhelming. They weren't supposed to kneel down and speak softly and look sad. "You're lying," she whispered. But there was less certainty in her voice now. Alex shook his head slowly. "I'm not. And I think I know how to prove it to you." Alex remained on his knees, making himself smaller, less threatening, as he looked into Luna's terrified eyes. The fear there was so profound, so genuine, that it made his chest ache. He'd encountered prejudice before. The galaxy was still adjusting to humanity's presence, but he'd never seen anything quite like this raw, primal terror. "Luna," he said gently, "I want to show you something, but I need you to trust me for just a moment. Can you do that?" Luna glanced desperately at Captain Moss, who seemed frozen between his natural compassion and his own deep-seated fears. The elderly vegan's bark-like skin had darkened with stress, and his branch-like appendages trembled visibly. What do you want to show me?" Luna asked, her voice barely audible. Alex slowly reached into his jacket pocket, moving deliberately so as not to startle her. Luna tensed, probably expecting him to draw some kind of weapon, but instead he pulled out a small, flat device. His personal tablet. "These are pictures from my home," Alex said, activating the device and turning it toward her. "This is what humanity really looks like." The first image showed a group of children playing in a garden, their laughter captured in frozen joy. They were human children, but their play was peaceful, no signs of the violence or aggression that Luna associated with predator species. Some were tending to small plants, others were reading under the shade of trees. "These are my nieces and nephews," Alex explained. "They're learning to grow food in their school garden. That little one there, Emma, she cried for an hour when she accidentally stepped on a flower." Luna stared at the image, her preconceptions wavering. These didn't look like the offspring of ruthless killers. They looked gentle, innocent. Alex swiped to the next image, a vast field of grain swaying in golden sunlight, with humans working among the crops. "This is my family's farm," he said. "We grow wheat, corn, vegetables. My father has never hunted a day in his life. He's actually vegetarian. He doesn't eat meat at all." "Vegetarian?" Luna repeated, the word foreign on her tongue. "But humans are omnivores. You're designed to eat meat." "Designed, maybe," Alex agreed. "But we choose what we become. Yes, some humans eat meat, but many of us don't. And those who do, we don't hunt sapient beings, Luna. We raise domestic animals humanely, or we've developed synthetic alternatives. The idea of hunting someone like you, someone who can think and feel and dream, it's not just wrong to us, it's unthinkable." He showed her more images. Human scientists working to preserve endangered species, human doctors treating alien patients, human artists creating beautiful works that celebrated peace and harmony. Each picture chipped away at Luna's terror, replacing it with confusion and wonder. "But the wars," Luna protested weakly, "the weapons, the violence in your history." Alex nodded sadly. "Yes, we fought wars. Terrible wars. But do you know what? We learned from them. That violence solves nothing, that cooperation and understanding are stronger than any weapon." He showed her an image of the United Nations building on Earth, its walls inscribed with messages of peace in hundreds of languages. "This is why I'm out here," Alex continued. "I'm part of a survey mission. We're looking for new worlds to explore, new peoples to meet and learn from. Not to conquer or colonize, but to understand, to make friends. Luna's large eyes filled with tears, not of fear now, but of shame. I was so afraid. I thought you were going to hunt us. I know, Alex said gently, and I understand why. Our reputation precedes us, and not all of it is fair or accurate. But Luna, I need you to know, humans don't see other sapient beings as prey. We see them as potential friends, allies, teachers. You and your people have shown me incredible kindness by rescuing me. The last thing I would ever want to do is repay that kindness with harm. Captain Moss stepped forward, his fear gradually giving way to curiosity. You said you were on a survey mission. What were you surveying? Alex smiled, and for the first time, Luna noticed that his smile wasn't threatening at all. It was warm, genuine, reaching his eyes in a way that spoke of honest emotion rather than predatory calculation. We found a system about 3 days from here with the most beautiful nebula formation I've ever seen, Alex said, pulling up stellar cartography images on his tablet. We were documenting it for the Galactic Heritage Foundation. It deserves protection as a natural wonder. Luna stared at the swirling colors of the nebula images, her mind reeling. You explore space to find beautiful things? To protect them? Among other things, yes, Alex confirmed. Humanity learned something important in our development, Luna. Destruction is easy. Any fool with a weapon can destroy. But creation, preservation, understanding, those require wisdom. Those require becoming better than what we were. Slowly, hesitantly, Luna reached out and touched the tablet, looking at the nebula images with new eyes. It is beautiful, she whispered. Alex watched her face change as understanding dawned, as fear gave way to wonder. Would you like to see it? He asked. I mean, not right away. I know you have your own mission and route. But maybe someday, if your people were interested, we could arrange a joint expedition. Your bioships would be perfect for extended nebula. Study. Luna looked up at him with eyes that no longer held terror, but something else entirely. Hope. You would want to work with us? Even after how we treated you? Alex's expression was patient, kind. Luna, fear isn't something to be ashamed of. It kept your people alive, kept you cautious. But now that we understand each other better, yes, I would very much like to work with you. I think humans and vegans could learn incredible things from each other. For the first time since Alex had come aboard, Luna smiled. It was tentative, uncertain, but genuine, and in that smile, Alex saw the beginning of something that had nothing to do with predator and prey, and everything to do with friendship between the stars. The atmosphere aboard the Peaceful Harvest began to change as word spread through the ship's bio-neural network that the human was not, in fact, preparing to devour them all. Luna found herself walking beside Alex through the living corridors, marveling at how different he seemed when viewed through the lens of understanding rather than terror. Your ship is remarkable, Alex said, running his hand along the phosphorescent walls with genuine reverence. I've read about bio-vessels, but experiencing one is completely different. It's like being inside a living poem. Luna felt a warm flush of pride. The Peaceful Harvest is relatively young. Only 30 stellar cycles. She's still growing, still learning. Sometimes I think she understands our emotions better than we do ourselves. As if responding to her words, the walls around them brightened, slightly, and a gentle, musical hum resonated through the corridor, the ship's equivalent of a contented purr. Alex stopped in wonder, pressing his ear to the wall. She's singing, he breathed. The ship is actually singing. She likes you, Luna said, surprised. I've never seen her respond to a non-vegan before. Usually she's quite shy around strangers. They paused at an observation lounge where several crew members had gathered. Luna noticed how they watched Alex, still with some wariness, but curiosity was beginning to overcome fear. Chief Engineer Root stepped forward, his bark-like skin showing the deep ridges that indicated advanced age and wisdom. Lieutenant Torres, Root said formally, I owe you an apology. I allowed fear to cloud my judgment. May I ask, What is your specialty in your survey missions? Alex brightened at the question. Xenobotany, actually. I study plant life on different worlds, catalog their properties, look for species that might benefit from protection or study. He paused, looking almost embarrassed. I have to admit, being aboard your ship is like a dream come true. The integration of plant consciousness with technology is beyond anything I imagined possible. Roots. Ridged features shifted into what Luna recognized as pleased surprise. A plant studier? Truly? Truly, Alex confirmed. On Earth, I have a greenhouse where I grow specimens from dozens of worlds. I've been working on a project to create hybrid gardens that could support multiple species' nutritional needs in space stations. The transformation in the room was palpable. Luna watched as her crewmate's body language shifted from defensive to genuinely interested. Navigator Petal stepped forward, her flower-like appendages unfurling in a gesture of welcome. We have developed techniques for accelerated plant growth in zero-gravity environments, Petal offered tentatively. Perhaps you would be interested in learning our methods. Alex's face lit up with an enthusiasm that was impossible to fake. I would be honored. The applications for long-range exploration would be incredible. Crews could grow their own food even on decade-long missions. Luna found herself smiling as she watched the exchange. The predator she had feared so desperately was practically vibrating with excitement over the prospect of learning about plants. The contrast between her expectations and reality was so stark, it was almost comical. Captain Moss approached the group, his early attention replaced by what Luna recognized as his natural diplomatic curiosity. Lieutenant Torres, if I may ask, what happened to your survey ship? The distress signal indicated a cascade failure. Alex's expression sobered. Equipment malfunction in our primary reactor. We were studying some unusual energy readings near an asteroid field when our containment systems began fluctuating. My captain ordered me to take an escape pod while they dealt with the emergency. His voice carried a note of worry. I've been hoping to hear from them, but so far there's been no word. The rescue ship you contacted, Luna asked. Will they search for your crew? Absolutely. The Valiant has the best search and rescue team in the fleet. If my crewmates are out there, they'll find them. Alex paused, then looked directly at Luna. I want you to know, if your people hadn't rescued me, I would never have been able to guide the rescue team to the right coordinates. You may have saved more lives than just mine. Luna felt a warm glow spread through her chest. The human she had been so terrified of was thanking her for potentially saving his friends. The irony wasn't lost on her. Security Chief Thorne, who had been silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke up. Human, he said carefully. Your people's reputation in the galaxy, it precedes you. There are stories of your warriors, your weapons, your capacity for violence. How do we reconcile those stories with what we see before us? Alex considered the question seriously. Chief Thorne, I won't lie to you. Humans are capable of violence when we need to be. We've had to defend ourselves and others from truly hostile species. But here's what the stories don't tell you. We hate it. Every human warrior I know dreams of a day when their skills won't be needed, when all beings can resolve their differences peacefully. He gestured to the peaceful surroundings of the ship. This is what we're working toward. Not conquest, not domination, but this, different species sharing knowledge, helping each other grow and learn. You've shown me something beautiful here, something I want to take back to my people and say, this is what's possible when we choose cooperation over conflict. Luna watched the faces of her crewmates as they processed Alex's words. She could see the moment when understanding truly took hold, when fear transformed into something else entirely. Hope for what relationships between species could become. The ship's bioluminescent panels pulsed gently around them, and Luna realized that the peaceful harvest herself was responding to the harmony in the room, the growing connection between beings who had started as strangers and were becoming something more. 6 hours later, Luna stood beside Alex at the observation deck as the human rescue ship UES Valiant approached. The sleek vessel was nothing like the angular warships of Luna's imagination. Instead, It was elegant and purposeful, its hull adorned with symbols she now recognized as scientific and diplomatic insignia rather than weapons markers. "There she is," Alex said with obvious relief. "Captain Rivera is an old friend. She'll have news about my crew." Luna watched the approaching ship with mixed emotions. She was happy that Alex would be reunited with his people, but she found herself reluctant to see him go. In just a few hours, he had completely transformed her understanding of what it meant to be human. "Alex," she said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I was so terrified of you, so convinced you were something you weren't. I nearly missed the chance to meet one of the most fascinating beings I've ever encountered." Alex turned to her with that warm smile she had learned to recognize as genuine kindness rather than predatory display. "Luna, you protected your people based on the information you had. That's not something to apologize for. It's something to be proud of. But I'm glad we had the chance to learn the truth about each other." Captain Moss approached, carrying a small container that pulsed with soft bioluminescence. "Lieutenant Torres, this is a gift from our ship's heart. Seeds from our homeworld's unity tree. They'll only grow in an environment of genuine peace and cooperation. Perhaps you could plant them in your greenhouse as a symbol of the friendship between our peoples." Alex accepted the gift with reverence, cradling the living container gently in his hands. "Captain, this is incredible. I promise you, these seeds will be tended with the greatest care. And when they grow, they'll remind everyone who sees them that fear can bloom into friendship when we choose understanding over suspicion." The Valiant's docking request came through the communication system, and Luna felt a pang of sadness. "Will we see you again?" she asked. Alex's eyes lit up with excitement. "Actually, I was hoping you'd ask. Captain Rivera and I were discussing something during the approach. How would you feel about a joint scientific expedition? The nebula that I mentioned. It would be perfect for studying how different biotechnologies respond to stellar phenomena. Your ship's living systems could provide data that our mechanical sensors could never capture." Luna's flower-like ears perked up with delight. "You mean it? A collaboration between humans and Vegans?" "More than that," Alex said, his enthusiasm infectious. "I've been in contact with my superiors. They're fascinated by what I've told them about your people, about your bioships, and your peaceful exploration methods. There's talk of establishing formal diplomatic relations, scientific exchange programs, maybe even joint colonies on worlds that could support both our species." Captain Moss stepped forward, his ancient features creased with something Luna had rarely seen. Hope for the future. "You would truly want such cooperation, even after how we initially received you?" Alex's expression grew serious. "Captain, what happened here today is exactly why we need cooperation. Fear and misunderstanding nearly kept us from becoming friends. How many other species are out there, avoiding each other because of assumptions and prejudices? How many potential friendships are we missing because we're too afraid to look past? The surface?" The docking clamps engaged with a gentle thud that Luna felt through the ship's living hull. On the communication system, a new voice crackled to life. Warm, professional, distinctly female. "Permission to come aboard, Peaceful Harvest. This is Captain Rivera of the Valiant. Lieutenant Torres, I have good news about your crew." Alex's face broke into a grin of pure relief. "Permission granted, Captain Rivera, and thank you." Within minutes, Captain Rivera stepped through the airlock, a woman of medium height with graying hair and laugh lines around her eyes that spoke of someone who had seen much of the galaxy and found joy in it. She was followed by two other humans. A tall, thin man with the pale complexion of someone who spent most of his time in laboratories, and a younger woman whose uniform bore the insignia of a communications specialist. Luna watched her crewmates' reactions carefully. There was still some tension, but it was the natural wariness of meeting new people rather than the paralyzing terror that had gripped them hours earlier. Chief Thorne even stepped forward in a gesture of formal welcome. "Captain Rivera," Alex said, unable to contain his excitement. "Please tell me about the crew of the Discovery." Rivera's smile broadened. "All safe, Lieutenant. They managed to contain the reactor breach and limped to the nearest station. Commander Hayes wanted me to tell you that your quick thinking in launching the pod probably saved the whole ship. Your weight distribution calculations bought them the time they needed to stabilize the core. The relief that washed over Alex was visible to everyone present. Luna found herself moved by the depth of emotion he showed for his crewmates' safety. It was yet another contradiction to everything she had believed about humans. This fierce loyalty and care for others that had nothing to do with pack-hunting strategies. "Captain Rivera," Captain Moss interjected, "Lieutenant Torres has told us remarkable things about humanity's goals in space. He speaks of cooperation, of joint scientific endeavors. Are these truly the intentions of your people?" Rivera looked around the bioluminescent corridor with obvious wonder before answering. "Captain Moss, humanity learned long ago that we're stronger together than apart. When we first reached the stars, we made mistakes. We were too aggressive, too quick to assume others meant us harm. But we've grown. We've learned that the galaxy is vast enough for all of us, and rich enough that cooperation benefits everyone." The pale man stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Marcus Webb, xenobiologist. Lieutenant Torres has been transmitting preliminary data about your bioship technology, and I have to say, the applications are staggering. We have colonies struggling with food production in harsh environments. Your techniques could save thousands of lives." Luna felt a surge of pride mixed with amazement. These humans wanted to learn from them, not to exploit their knowledge, but to help others. "Dr. Webb," she said, finding her voice stronger now, "I would be honored to share our data with you. But perhaps we could learn from each other. I've heard about human terraforming techniques that could benefit worlds where our people might want to settle." "A true exchange," Rivera said approvingly. "Knowledge flowing both ways, both species stronger for it. This is exactly what we hope to find out here." The young communications specialist spoke up. "Captain, if I may, I've been monitoring Galactic Council frequencies during our approach. Word is already spreading about this contact. Several other species are expressing interest in similar exchanges with both humans and vegans." Alex's eyes widened. "You mean this could be the beginning of something bigger?" "Much bigger," Rivera confirmed. "The Tenthari Collective has reached out about joint terraforming projects. The Crystal Singers want to discuss bioacoustic technologies. Even the notoriously reclusive shell builders are asking questions about peaceful coexistence techniques." Luna felt the ship around her respond to the growing excitement in the room. The peaceful harvest's walls brightened, and the gentle humming that indicated contentment grew stronger. The ship herself seemed to understand that something momentous was happening. "There's something else," Rivera continued, her expression growing more serious. "The Galactic Council has been watching this encounter through long-range sensors. They're impressed by how both our species handled first contact. The initial caution followed by genuine effort to understand each other. They want to use this as a model for future interspecies relations." Captain Moss's ancient features showed amazement. "Our simple act of rescue could change how species meet across the galaxy." "It already has," Alex said quietly. "Luna, when you chose to answer my distress call despite your fears, when Captain Moss chose to help despite the perceived danger, when your crew chose to look past their preconceptions and see me as an individual, you darted something that's going to ripple across the stars." Luna looked around at the faces surrounding her, human and vegan alike, all showing the same expression of wonder at the possibilities opening before them. The terrified communications officer who had cowered at her station just hours ago now stood in the presence of multiple humans, not just unafraid, but excited about the future they could build together. "So what happens now?" she asked. Rivera smiled. "Now we make it official. The Council has authorized me to extend a formal invitation to the Vegan Collective for a full diplomatic and scientific exchange. Cultural ambassadors, research partnerships, the works. And Lieutenant Torres here has volunteered to serve as our first long-term liaison, if your people are willing." Alex nodded enthusiastically. "I'd like to spend a year aboard vegan vessels, learning your bioship techniques and teaching human exploration methods. Dr. Webb would love to study your agricultural systems, and we have hydroponics specialists who could share our latest food production advances." Luna felt her heart swell with possibilities she had never imagined. The predator she had feared would eat her had become the catalyst for her people's greatest adventure since they first reached the stars. "I think," she said slowly, looking at Alex with eyes that now held warmth instead of terror. "I think this could be the beginning of the most beautiful friendship in the galaxy." As if in agreement, the peaceful harvest pulsed with gentle light. And somewhere in the distance, Luna could swear she heard the ship singing, not the cautious hum of before, but a song of joy, of new beginnings, of connections that would span the stars. The herbivore alien girl was no longer terrified. Instead, she was hopeful, excited and proud to be part of the moment when fear bloomed into friendship. When two very different species discovered that understanding was stronger than any weapon, and that cooperation could create wonders beyond either species' individual dreams. In the end, the greatest HFY story wasn't about humanity's capacity for violence, but about their capacity for growth, for learning, for reaching across the void between species and saying, "We are different, but we can be friends." And in that friendship, both species would become something greater than they had ever been alone.